Doop 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 theme song. Hey, how's it going? Just doing a quick check-in video, seeing how the week was. Thank you, Lilu. Right on cue. Lilu allowed everybody. It's been a while since she's made an appearance, so I guess that's just fitting. Anyway, just seeing how things are going, checking in with my report of how I've been doing. Finally, have some progress to make. I managed to start cutting down on cigabutts. The way I started doing it is that there are occasions where I have them back to back. So, for instance, when I'm driving to work from work, when I go on breaks, I'll usually have 2, 3 in a row. So I managed to cut down one in each instance. So that's 4 now. So I'm smoking 4 less a day. Plan on having that be more soon because I plan on getting a new car. New to me anyway, not a new car. I can't afford a new car. Come on. I'm not making Rogan money, so come on. Let's just call a spade a spade. I plan on not smoking in that new car, the new to me car. And that's going to be a game changer because that is where I have a fair majority of my cigarettes, as most smokers do. And the car that I'm looking at that I'm planning on getting is super, super, super clean. They kept it pristine, never smoked in it, not a single cigarette burn that you can find, and I would love to keep it that way, and that'll keep me incentivized to continue doing so. So, baby steps. It's not going to be a sprint, it's going to be a marathon. Speaking of which, I don't remember if I mentioned in the last podcast, but I did try to do a jog with Lilu. She loved it. She was pulling me the whole way, which made me feel better because it's like, oh yeah, she's helping me go a little bit faster. And then my shins hurt for at least 3-4 days afterwards. So don't just jump right into it with both feet, thinking that you can do stuff that you did back when you were a teen. You need to ease into it if you've been lazy for the past couple. Which is what happened in my case. I almost gave myself shin splints just from a quick light jog because it's been a while and I haven't done anything more than a fast walk speed, power walk speed, double time, I guess you could call it. Yes, thank you, Lilu. I'm hoping you can hear me over her background noises, but she decided for whatever reason that during these couple minutes that I'm going to be talking to you, that's when she decided to attack her toy, and whatever. More power to her, as long as she doesn't bump into the table anymore. So, so not doing too great on the exercise. I did give it a shot, though. I'm trying, and I realize I just got to slowly ease into it. Still drinking quite a bit, but again, still not doing it to the point of, it affecting my day-to-day. For instance, I never drink enough in order to get a hangover the next morning, and, so that's not exactly the best thing, but it is still better than, back in my 20s when I'd wake up and have to call out of work because I felt like death. That's something that I haven't done in probably a decade, and I'm pretty proud of that I haven't had to have that affect my life, whether socially or business wise. So, but yeah, other than that, had a decent weekend. I don't remember if I mentioned in a previous podcast that one of my yeah, I did. One of my birthday presents was a hot pot. And so just real quick recap in case you're unfamiliar, hot pot is a Asian dish where you get the pot up to a boil. There's 2 sides. One side is regular flavor, one side is spicy. And you're typically supposed to use Sichuan peppers. So that's Sichuan or Szechuan. They're called a couple different things, but the most traditional name for it is Sichuan. And they're really interesting pepper in that they're really spicy, but they also numb your face as it happens. So it really creates a really interesting sensation, and they're super tasty. And really hard to find in just a typical grocery store. As many of you are aware, in the U.S. grocery stores, the Asian Mexican section, which that's all it is. The only ethnic sections that outside of traditional American fare are a small little Mexican section, a small little Asian section, and oftentimes both in the same aisle, and not much to choose from there at all. In fact, usually a quarter of the aisle itself is just ramen. So we weren't able to find any of the peppers, so we had to do a substitute where you use coriander seeds and peppercorn. And it was good. It gave it a bit of a kick, but it definitely wasn't the same sensation as having a traditional pepper. So I ordered some of them online directly through a spice website. And once that gets here, we're going to try and plan on doing round 2. But round 1 went really well. We still had some glass noodles, and we were able to find thinly shaved beef strips, but we weren't able to find anything else So I grabbed some lamb and I just tried to slice it as super thin as I could, and we just left it in cooking longer. So if if you're not familiar, basically what you do is you dip in paper thin meat so that it cooks instantly, and then you can it browns right away and you can eat it. And then you throw some veggies in at the end, soaks up quite a bit of the flavor, and it's relatively if you do it right and you try and avoid any prepackaged stuff that has a lot of sodium. So for instance, since we were kind of improvising the ingredients, we used a beef stock that was salt free. So all in all, I mean at the end of the day, it's a relatively healthy dish and a lot of fun to do. Just try not to do it in case it's super hot day, because you're obviously eating it over the pot as it's boiling, so they can get a bit sweaty if you don't have a lot of ventilation in your kitchen/dining room area. But it was fun for a first attempt. I love that since we had to stay home during the previous year and make a lot of food ourselves. We learned how to throw pizza. We learned how to cook stuff from scratch. We learned how to have non-reactive foods, low sodium foods, low sugar foods, and it's been great. So I mean, diet wise, I'm crushing it. I've been staying roughly around what my target weight was, within a couple of pounds of each other. In fact, it got to the point where when this weekend we went to a graduation party, that was super fun, and there was, as you can imagine, a lot of chips and dips and burgers and hot dogs and just all cake and all the stuff that you're not really supposed to eat. And I only went up a pound, which I then immediately lost by the next morning that I weighed myself. So that it's great that I can have the occasional cheat day and my body doesn't make me pay for it too badly, and I bounce back pretty quick. I'm lucky in that regard. Most people aren't. Usually, if you have been eating well and then you suddenly eat something that you're not supposed to, so for instance, if you have a big thing of spaghetti and meatballs, oftentimes you can be up 3 pounds the next day, even if you didn't eat 3 pounds of food, just because of the reactivity. You're retaining water, and it's so not fair. I mean, I actually saw a comic. It's a famous one. Everybody knows it, and it's just so true. But Garfield puts a burger on the scale, and the burger weighs 8 ounces. Then Garfield eats the burger, steps on the scale, and the scale says you've gained 1 pound. And he just looks at the camera or whatever you call it, and says life isn't fair or something. I'm probably butchering the comic, but the rough idea is that he eats an 8-ounce burger and then he gains a pound, and that's kind of how it feels sometimes. Well, that's why, is because you're actually reactive. You're getting swollen, inflamed. The itis, as black people call it, which is such a fitting term for it. I mean, you get you get sleepy and tired, and it's called the itis, which literally means inflammation, like arthritis, inflammation of the joints. So calling it the itis is the most perfect thing I could think of for that. So yeah, so I didn't get too much itis from the meal. Lilo had a good time. There was another dog for her to play with, and so they were only off leash. She was only off leash for a little bit because, unfortunately, with the dog that she was chasing, liked to go through the the circle of foldable chairs that we were sitting in, and at one point she got caught up on a folding chair that had a person in it and everything, and she still managed to have it carried on her back like a turtle for quite a few yards before spilling the drink that was in the cup holder and all over the purse, the chair. It was kind of embarrassing, but we gave her a second chance, and then unfortunately the little dog was chasing her, and she led the chase out to the front yard, which was technically out of bounds. I'm not worried because I know that she's too conscious about roads and cars to get anywhere close to getting hit. But the little dog knew better, that it wasn't supposed to be the area to go, and chased her anyway. So after that, we decided to put her back on leash to calm down and to make it be safe and stuff. But other than that, she was really great. She's getting so much better at greetings. I don't think that she tried to jump up in anybody's face the entire party, which was impressive, especially because there was in the second half of the party, there was some toddlers around, and so she usually gets super excited about that. Maybe sometimes tries to do a paw up, and she didn't this time. She just did really super sweet greetings, which I appreciated. And she held her pee and poop in, despite drinking a boatload of water. Held her pee and poop in until I went off into the side, asked her to go, and then she peed and pooped in a spot off to the side, which was great because obviously there's toddlers and also plenty of people laying in the grass, and I didn't want any of them to suddenly get a stinky wet back or lay their head in some dog poo without realizing it. So she was really good about that, and I think that she only managed to sneak one chip that was on the ground, because we're usually really good about her not eating human food besides like carrots and stuff like that. So I think that she got to a potato chip before we were able to get her to. But other than that, everybody knew not to feed her human food. And you know what? If some people snuck human food behind our backs to her, it is what it is. I understand human nature. You want to give the dog a little treat, and it's just like, oh, those parents are so strict for you. And then, okay, nobody's looking, so go ahead and take that. Which is appreciated, but at the same time, I have warned about that in a previous podcast where try to be careful about doing something like that. I know that you feel like you might be helping out, but some dogs have food allergies. Oftentimes, with my previous dog, Natasha, anytime that we had a get-together, she would always end up eating grass and puking. And I thought that she was puking from eating the grass, but what it actually was is people sneaking her bites of burger and stuff. And of course, Dad, he would always put the garlic and onion on it. So she was eating garlic and onion, getting sick from the garlic and onion, eating the grass to try and settle her stomach, and that's why she puked, not because of the grass, but because of the garlic and onion. So, there's plenty of dogs out there with beef and chicken allergies. There's plenty of dogs out there that people that aren't pet owners might not realize that dogs should not have garlic and onion. It's the healthiest thing for us, but for them, not so much. So it is what it is. I get the desire, but just, when you're out there and you have dogs that are in a party setting and you feel the need to feed them some human food, you definitely want to double check with the pet parents, please and thank you. It's just, polite thing to do. But other than that, we had a great time, and not too much to report otherwise. Super excited to potentially get a new vehicle that will help me in cutting down smoking, and so I'm doing it slowly but surely, baby steps. But I mean, even a little bit of progress is better than no progress at all, or even taking a step back. And that's how it usually feels anytime you do something that is worth doing. You feel like you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and on the really bad days, you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps backwards and no step forward. So I'm at least feeling like I'm doing the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, which is great. I hope that if any of you out there are doing something similar, you don't get discouraged if you're not making as much progress as you would like to. I mean, look at me. I needed to put something up publicly so that, maybe the 2 or 3 people that are actually watching it, I can be held accountable for what I'm doing. And I plan on being 100% frightfully honest on this. I wish I could have been like, all right, so I did a little exercise, a little less drinking, a little more, a little less smoking. No, the only thing I really did any improvement on was the smoking. But even cutting down a little bit, I mean, I've tried cutting down, I've tried going cold turkey. I've been smoking since I was 14. Not proud of it, but I've been smoking since I was 14. And I just turned 38, so that means that I have been smoking way longer than I have not been smoking. So my body is more used to being a smoker than it is to not being a smoker, and that's where a lot of the struggle comes from. At one point, I'd actually quit for 2 years and still went back to it, so it is a notoriously difficult thing to quit. So even if cutting down is going to help, and I feel like I have noticed some slightly less wheezing at night in bed is usually a big one. When you're sideways, your lungs are hitting in different places than they normally would, and so you can get a lot of phlegm. I feel like I'm not getting as much as I was previously, so I'm already noticing some positive effects. But keep in mind, even if you cut down and then it seems like your lungs are getting worse, that can absolutely happen. It's actually very common. So let's say that you were a pack-a-day smoker and then you suddenly quit cold turkey. Well, you're actually going to be hacking a lot more than you previously were, because when you smoke, all the cilia, the little tiny, hair-like cells that are in your lungs, they die when you're a smoker. So when you quit smoking, they start growing back again, and they do what their job is supposed to do. They're supposed to move all that nasty stuff out of your lungs. So once it starts growing back and you start clearing out all this nasty tar and everything that you were previously putting on there, you actually start coughing and hacking sounding worse than you did when you were a smoker. And that's actually a good thing. It could be discouraging because you're like, wow, I'm hacking worse than when I was a smoker. Maybe I should just get back to cigarettes. No, don't fall for that. It's literally your body trying to heal itself, and it's a process, and after a couple weeks, if you still stay good and don't smoke, it's gonna get better. So please don't be discouraged. I almost did when I had my previous video where I was like, I hurt my wrists, I got acid reflux, and I didn't make any progress whatsoever last week because I was just in, a lot of pain, both internally and externally. Hey, that is what it is. You know what? I tried again next week, and I made a little progress, so kudos to me. I mean, if you don't have anybody to pat you on the back, pat yourself on the back. There's nothing worse than feeling alone and realizing that the only company you have is yourself, and you don't like your own company. So, first things first, be able to hang out with yourself and like you for being you. You know, like you should be able to hang in a completely blank room with nothing but your thoughts and still have a good time. So if you can manage that, then you can pretty much accomplish anything. I feel like, and just put your mind to it and stick to it. You don't have to start off the most disciplined person. I mean, look at me. I was in the army. I unlearned everything from the army about discipline. I think as soon as I got out of the army, I stopped shaving, stopped cutting my hair, stopped making the bed. I only make the bed when I change the sheets, which apparently a lot of you nasty MFs are not changing it that often. Just that's gross. I mean, I feel like you should do pillowcase once a week, the sheets at least every 2 weeks, and apparently some of you are doing the same thing, only changing the weeks to months, or so yeah, it's gross. You're sleeping in your own filth. Whether you take a shower before you go to bed or whether you take a shower when you just get up in the morning, I mean, it doesn't matter what your routine is. You're still sleeping in a lot of your dead cells. That's where a lot of the weight of the pillow comes from if you have a slightly older pillow. So just keep that in mind. Like, if you ever wonder whenever you get a new pillow and you're just like, man, they make them so much lighter and cheaper. It's like, no. That probably was what your pillow felt like before it got, filled with all that dead cells and stuff. It's disgusting. So, just definitely be cleaning up after yourself. I don't know why I apologize. I'm trying to keep things positive, and now I just kind of came across like I was assuming that anybody that's watching is a dirty MF, and that's not the case at all. By the way, MF, something kind of cute that I learned from work. MF doesn't mean motherfuckers; it means my friends. So you can do that in emails, and then if somebody says, "Whoa, what's with the language?" It's like, what? It means my friends. What did you think it meant? It's it's a dumb kind of office joke, but it's also kind of cute at the same time. So, you're all my MFs, and I appreciate you. And yeah, keep on making better, and I will see you next time.